Hiya, I hope you're keeping well. Today I'm going to go through a bit of a curly hair routine and a bit of my experience of when I followed the curly girl method. Now, just to give you a bit of context, recently, just this week, I wrote a feature for The Independent all about the best products for following the curly girl method successfully. And I follow Claire Coleman on here, and whenever she's written a feature, she'll always do a video to say, you know, this is what I found in my research. These were the bits that I could have gone into loads of detail about. So I just thought I would do that. To give you an overview, I'm not someone that follows the curly girl method religiously. So for the purpose of this feature, I followed every single step and kind of documented what happened and what gave me the best results. But by all means, I just want to say from the off, there are so many fantastic resources online that I found fascinating when I was doing my research, whether it is Facebook groups, TikTok pages, YouTube, Instagram. I can't even, there's so many. If you just start Googling this, you're going to find loads of great people. And also a couple of weeks ago, if you go onto my profile, I'd put a picture up of 2 books that I was reading, which I'll come on to in a second. And I'd asked if anyone is following it or, you know, who they like. And there were loads of great suggestions in the comments there. So do go and have a look. Just to mention, for the sake of this video, everything that I'm going to mention was in the piece I wrote in The Independent this week. So if you click to make the video full screen, the title will come up along the top. Click the arrow, and when you read that caption, I'm going to put a link to the Independent piece, and everything you need to know is in that piece. Now, the curly girl method. This is a particular method of caring for curls that is meant to really help you to sculpt and define your curls. And it's important to note that there are so many different types of curls and waves and hair textures. So depending on what your hair is like, you will be adapting this method to find the things that work perfectly for you. And this is just my experience of what I found happen when I followed this. So the curly girl method, I mean, these kinds of methods of caring for curls, people have been doing across all cultures for many, many years. The person to actually kind of describe it in this way and create a handbook as such is a hairdresser called Lorraine Massey. And what she did was put it together in this really concise set of rules that you should follow. So there are people that follow it really strictly. There are people that are a bit looser with the rules. Let me give you a bit of a strict overview. And as I say, I'm not claiming to be the expert here. There are so many people with really detailed accounts of this. I just want to give you my kind of experience of following it if you're a bit of a newcomer to it, which is what I was, because by all means, I'm sure there are lots of people that could cover this in a lot more detail for you. So, initial kind of starting points. You want to forget your shampoo. Traditional shampoos that would contain the likes of sulfates, silicones, parabens are not wanted during the curly girl method. And actually a lot of people would skip the shampoo altogether and use a co-wash instead, which is like a cleansing conditioner. It helps you to clean the scalp, but without anything that's going to foam up. Because the theory is that a curly hair type is already naturally a bit more dry, and we want to avoid anything that could potentially make it even more dry. So you've skipped your shampoo. You're only going to brush your hair in the shower while it's wet, okay? You're not going to use any heat on your hair. You're going to avoid oils. You're going to then experiment to find a mixture of things like gels, mousses, creams that you can leave in to sculpt your curls. When it comes to drying your hair, you don't want to use traditional cotton. You want to use something like a t-shirt is a really popular one, in particular if you're looking on TikTok, or like I have used this for ages, a quick dry towel. This is like a turban that sits on top of your head, and you can kind of let your hair be drying away there. Does it a lot more quickly, and it's less drying than a traditional towel. So that would be some of your rules to initially kick off with. If you're happy to bend the rules a little bit, you could use a little bit of heat and diffuse dry your hair on a low heat. And you could use a low poo, as they call it, instead of a shampoo, which is a shampoo that follows the rules of not having those silicons, sulfates, parabens that will help you to wash the hair. But in particular, whatever you're using, I would just say as well, one of the things I saw a lot coming up is that you want to really take time massaging the scalp so that you're breaking down that dirt even without the shampoo. So before I got started, I mean, this took so much reading, looking at loads of different things, but I put several calls out on Instagram for people to reach out to me and tell me what are they using. I just said, if you're following this routine, can you tell me which things you're, enjoying, that you use a lot? The same names came up again and again, and lots of them are things that I then really beelined for. I tried a little bit of everything, but honestly, if you were one of those people that sent me a message, told me what you were using, told me products, told me people to follow, I cannot thank you enough, because actually all of those suggestions really paved the way for the research. And that's one of the lovely things I think about social media, was getting all of that help. So stuck to it, went through everything. These are the things I included in the feature that I think you'll love. Okay, because the shampoo step is so important, I included the equivalent of 4 different shampoos. The best buy I put was the Bouclem curl cream. Now, I could have put everything from Bouclem. I really enjoyed getting to know this brand. Jerry, who is fantastic on here, I'm going to link her here. She's Jackie Bean Beauty. She's one of my favourite people to follow on Instagram. She always experiments with colourful makeup and she always shares her curl routine. She had been telling me about this for ages. She's such a big fan and she always recommends really great things. So I knew a lot about them, but this brand was just fantastic. Now, this particular curl cleanser was quite unusual because it was a light lotion texture. Let me show you some of the textures actually. Really light lotion texture, if I can get it out, and it is citrusy in scent. Now, if you're like me and the idea of this no shampoo is a bit like, what are you on about? I'm not allowed to shampoo my hair. The fact that that is citrusy makes your hair feel really clean, even though you haven't had that traditional foam. Now, in traditional co-wash terms, like I was mentioning earlier, this Umberto Giannini banana butter, you've never smelled anything like it. If I just show you, it smells incredible, but it is so thick and dense and rich and buttery. It's like cake mix or something, or banana pudding. That is going to be a nice one for you if you need a lot of hydration, if you want that really sweet smelling shampoo, well, co-wash. That follows the rules completely. And actually, while I'm on about Umberto Giannini, that was one of the brands that everybody came back and said they were using. And then it works out, like, I have gone to Umberto Giannini for my hair for years. Mark does my hair. He's one of my best mates. And then, like, I know it sounds silly, but you know when you'd forget, I think of Mark as being like someone I'd say what I was watching on Netflix and he'd tell me the same. Whenever I go and get my hair done, he basically just spends the whole appointment, taking the mick out of me for everything. And then I was like, God, Mark is actually the creative director of Umberto Giannini. So he gave me some brilliant quotes about the piece. But that came out completely on top. And actually one of the nice things about Umberto and Bouclem, to be fair, very reasonable in price. But back on track, the Living Proof Curl Shampoo. Now, this, I think, leaves a really dense hydration in the hair. So if you want something to really make a difference in terms of sculpting the curls, it's fantastic. I've used this for a long, long time, since before I even thought about this feature. And one of the things that I thought was quite crucial about this was that I remember when they launched this, and the team at Living Proof were saying that they knew they launched a whole curl range, which again, there are lots of great things in that collection. The conditioner of this is great. The gel from this collection is great. The oil, which you're not strictly meant to use for Curly Girl Method, but if you did like using oils, the oil from this is brilliant. They were saying when they made this collection, they know that you're not meant to shampoo your hair with the Curly Girl Method, but so many people want to. And for so many people, it's a real compromise of like, oh, I want to follow these steps, but that feels a bit alien to me to not do that. Perfect solution, because it follows all the rules, but you still get that washed feeling. And then finally, this is such a good one that whether you're curly or not, I can't recommend this enough. It's empty, so I can't show it to you. I luckily had kept it. I was going to do like an empties video. The Dizziac Hydration Wash, I had Bryony Gordon on my podcast sometime last year, and I asked her, come on, what are your favourite things? And this was one of her recommendations. And then my friend Laura wrote a piece for Cosmo about it and said, this is the best shampoo. And she's got naturally quite greasy hair. She has to wash her hair very often. Hers is a lot more straight. But this is just absolutely fantastic. It's a really hydrating shampoo that follows all of the rules. But what I would say with this, you feel like you're getting a traditional shampoo and cleanse. If you're like me and you want something that after you've worked out, you feel completely squeaky clean, but you still want to care for your hair, absolutely fantastic. I can't recommend that brand enough. And actually, when I was writing the piece, once I figured out what I wanted to include, you have to get things like pictures of the products and things like that. And I had reached out to Holly, who looks after them, and said, oh, could I have a picture of this? I've had it. This was another one I'd bought before, used, loved, and I knew I was going to include it. And Loretta, the founder, was really lovely. She was making other suggestions for curly hair. Their website is quite a good resource if you just generally want some info. And actually, just back to Bouclem, speaking of the websites, you can navigate their website by your curl type. So you know how I was saying it kind of is important for you to identify what kind of curls you have before you pick your products. Really good place to do it. How am I doing for time? I hope I can fit all of this in. Speaking of curl type, I'm just going to come on to, I was going to try and do these in order so I didn't forget anything. I'm just going to skip forward. Ouidad. Again, this is another brand that I've used lots of things from. I personally ended up choosing this as a great curl refreshing mist. If you've had your hair curly for a couple of days and you don't want to wash it again, but you just want to give it a bit of a reinvigoration, this is lovely. But on the Ouidad website, there's also a section where you can identify what your curl type is. Really, really good to know. Okay, I'm going to go back in order of the feature. Aquis, okay. I had already been using this. This is a quick dry towel that you can use to dry your curls without causing any further damage, and you kind of wrap your hair in a turban and clip it into place. And I know that sounds really trivial, but it's the difference between having a towel on top of your head and constantly fiddling with it around the house, or having a towel on top of your head so that you can make your tea, throw a wash on, do a few emails, whatever it is that you're doing, and just know that your hair is looking after itself. One of the things I would point out, Aquis and Bouclem are looked after by the same PR agency. And when I reached out to ask about Bouclem, Rachel was so helpful. She's got curly hair too. And she was like, oh my goodness, can I just say, you should look into this apple cider vinegar method. You should look into this, that. So many people were so helpful about this. And like, that was just so invaluable. And I think one of the biggest discoveries for me is that this is a really emotive topic to people. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It's definitely something that I've had my blog now for coming up 11 years. I've only been doing the videos and things the last couple of years, but I have been working on everything to do with beauty. For years, I spent all my spare time, my evenings when I'd come home from work, and this has been the topic. I've never had so much unsolicited feedback. And what I mean by that is, like, obviously now I've written a piece about curly hair, so we're talking about it, that's brilliant. But there's been so many times in the past where I'll have like made a makeup video, for example, or a skin video. I won't have said a thing about my hair, and I'll have been talking about something else, and I'll get a lot of feedback about something that I didn't necessarily start the conversation about. And I just know that this is something that people feel really passionately about. And I think in terms of putting this together, the people that are passionate and loved helping, it just goes to show that like there is a real sense of, oh, I found these things that are going to work, that really work for me, and I just want to share them with everyone. And I think that's the thing when you've got curly hair, when you find what works for you, which I'm still in the process of doing, it's just such a revelation. Although that said, one of the things that Mark said when I asked him about it is that even though, you know, you're cutting out the heat styling and all the rest of it, this is still a big time commitment. When we were on the phone, he was saying like, it's like when you commit to go to the gym, or you commit to, what was the other example he gave me? He gave me another great example, and he was like, you do have to carve the time out. He was saying that with his wife, Kerry, she goes up to wash her hair and he doesn't see her for an hour and a half. But all jokes aside, it's just like, you have to commit to it in the same way that you'd be committing to the effort of blow drying your hair. Do you know what I mean? Okay, a few different bits and pieces. I'm going to talk you through the Ouai curl cream. A good few months ago when this launched, we were on a Zoom and Diana from the Ouai said that this smelt like if a rose and a gardenia walked into a bar and smoked a cigarette, and I've never forgotten it. It's essentially a curl cream that will define your curls, sculpt them, but also it just smells beautiful. I love having that kind of fragrance in your hair. I think it's lovely. However, really clever, and I thought this was great. They were saying when they researched the curl products that when they were talking to people that care for curls, lots and lots of people layer multiple products. And they were saying if you're using several things that all smell quite strong, throwing another one is just going to be overkill. So they made this in a fragranced or a fragrance-free version. I just thought that was great. What's next on my list? Oh my goodness, speaking of smells. So Cantu was one of the most popular brands that came up when I asked people what they were using. Absolutely, so many people said, and it was across every category: shampoo, conditioner, the curl cream, everything, deep conditioners. This was the moisturising curl activator cream. If you could smell this, it smells like a holiday. It smells like a coconutty cocktail. It's beautiful, but it is really densely hydrating. And what I like about this is, even though it's, I'm trying to get it out, that'll show you how much I've used in the time. I can feel that it's in there, but anyway, I'm going to move swiftly on. It's really, really rich and moisturising, and if you've got thin hair, if you've got curlier hair, it won't weigh it down. It's really lovely, creamy, buttery, instantly quenches everything, and it just smells absolutely beautiful. But by all means, explore the whole collection because you'll find loads. I actually bought a shampoo from them that I've been meaning to try. I've obviously been using a few different bits and pieces, but I'll let you know about that in the fullness of time. What else is on my list? Okay, quick one on best conditioner. I put Aveda Sap Moss. I haven't got it here because I've used it before and I know I absolutely love it. Why I put the Aveda Sap Moss, I could have put so many Aveda collections. The Nutriplenish collection is beautiful for curls in general. Damage Remedy is brilliant for, you know, repairing any brittle ends or dryness. That I could go on with Aveda. They've got the Be Curly range. Anything from Aveda kind of follows the principles and you can't go wrong. But the reason I put Sap Moss is you just feel completely drenched with moisture, but it doesn't weigh your skin, doesn't weigh your hair down. I think ages ago, before I tried it, I'm nearly certain it was Elle from Bambi Does Beauty. She'd said about it that you can literally feel in the shower that it has made a difference straight away, and it's spot on. And then when you think about that philosophy of you're not allowed to brush your hair except for when it's soaking wet in the shower, that brush just goes straight through it. Anything from Sap Moss collection would be lovely. Okay, this is, talk about a TikTok minefield. The Denman D3 brush. Now, we all recognise this brush, don't we? This particular brush was actually designed with curls in mind. If you go onto TikTok and just look at hashtag Denman brush, or look wherever you like to find your content, there are so many videos of people using this to prise the hair when it's wet and curl it into shape. Look at all those things I didn't know you could do. Let me just try and remember how I did this the other day. You can actually peel that out. You can then remove any of these layers if you wanted a slightly more, bristled finish. If you wanted looser bristles to care for your curls, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to attempt to put that back on in front of you, but it's very, very easy. Fantastic tool. I got it and I was using it and I thought it was great. But then when I looked at the hashtag and watched people actually doing the hair with it, absolutely brilliant. What that's really good for is, for me, when I first made the switch, the front of your hair can be a bit like, how does my parting fall? How can I style this? But you can use that to put your hair into whatever shape you want at the front, and you get that control back. So have a little look at that. I thought it was fantastic. Now, this was one of the most mentioned products. I've put the Umberto Giannini curl gel. Curl jelly. Really simple. You're going to put this on, you know, wet or damp hair and let it dry in. What you need to do, again, if you're a curly absolute aficionado, I know this video isn't for you, but for anyone that's new to this like me, you don't just put it in and leave it. You return to it and scrunch out the crunch, as they call it. And what I liked about this particular curl jelly, I used several. Special mention to the Bouclem one. It literally could have been a whole Bouclem piece. I really love them. You can layer and layer and layer this, and it won't be crispy or horrible. And you can really build as much hold and definition as feels good for you. So definitely rate it. A girl I started following that everyone recommended, she's Welshie Curl Girl or something like that, but she just put a video up using this today and it looks fantastic. Now, oh, I've done my weed ad, brilliant. Okay, we're still at the moment in the territory of things that are Curly Girl approved. And the last thing I'm going to show you, I've moved over here with, this will make you laugh, with Hannah Martin as my bookmark. Hannah, if you're watching, there you are, always with me. Best resource. Now, I've just mentioned that there are so many places to get your information. One of the people that I love for kind of curly hair advice, because she's very open-minded and that there's no black and white, right and wrong, is Charlotte Mensah. She has this book called Good Hair, and it's described as the essential guide to afro, textured and curly hair. And what I like about her is she really helps you to break down which products are going to be right for you, because she's constantly reinforcing that depending on what your curls are like, you're going to need different things. So Hannah is leading me, thank you very much, Han, to like this particular part. For example, think of all these things I've mentioned now: your head wrap, your moisturising shampoo, your conditioning shampoo, your gels, your mousse, your hairspray, your curl cream. She gives you all of these different options and who they're going to be best for and how you should use them and which thing will be best. So if you wanted to read a book about where should I begin, I just want to hear a few tips and then make my decisions from there, I'd really recommend that. And also, it's just really fascinating. Like, one of the things I've learned is that you can have areas of your head that have a different curl type to others. And like under my like bottom here, some of these bits just won't curl. They're just near enough poker straight. And then you've got these bits that are super curly. It's just knowing what to do with all of those different parts of your hair. So that was all of your absolutely approved, follow the rules things. And then I've put a few cheats in because personally, I just think I've loved throwing myself into this. But if you were going to cheat, or you had an off day, or you wanted to bend the rules a little bit, take some bits, leave others, here are a few cheats that I really recommend. So the first one was this VO5 mousse. And the reason it's not officially kind of confirmed is that there are certain ingredients in here that usually you would tend to avoid. But the thing is, this is £3 something. It's a lovely mousse that gives you all of the curl and definition without being crunchy. You know, it's each to their own, however you want to follow it. But if I know by bending a little rule slightly, you can get a great remedy for your curls for £3, I'm going to put it in there. So I did make it clear in the piece what was, you know, going by the book and what was off kilter. That one was, but it's fantastic and I'd really recommend it, especially if, like, I would never have gone near a mousse because I'd be thinking of like dry, crispy hair. But that is your, no, actually, your curls can look really lovely and defined without being dry. Brilliant. Now, the Mark Hill Mermaid Waver. How often have I gone on about this? The thing with this is it's in Boots. You buy the handle and then you buy the top. That is one of the best hair products I've ever used. And when you look at the price of it on a sheet of paper, it's one of the lowest in comparison to all the hair tools you see online. Now, I would have previously seen a price that low and thought that's not going to do anything for my hair. It's not going to be strong enough. It's fantastic. It's about to fall on the floor as well. There we go. That for me, if I've let my hair dry naturally and I'm going in with the waves, it's just nice for a little tidy up, and then I can use that and not have to touch my hair for days. Cannot recommend it enough, and again, isn't going to break the bank. And then finally, whatever kind of hair you've got, this is the single best hair thing I have ever bought. I'm halfway down. I've already got a top up ready. Just to put it into context, I've been using this every time I wash my hair since sometime around Christmas, and I'm only that far down, and literally a pea-sized amount is plenty. If anything, I've found that if I ever use a bit more, it doesn't look nice. You just want to use a tiny bit. The Olaplex number 6. What I would say to you is, no, it's not Curly Girl approved, but if you're trying to use less heat on your hair, this will be the thing that means you don't need to use as much heat. When I've washed my hair, if I'm doing my usual like wavy routine, I will let it dry naturally. I'll put this in it. I'll sleep on it when it's kind of damp. And in the morning, everything is much smoother. I still have to do work to it, absolutely. But the work I'm doing is not on frizz. It's on like strange curls and waves and things. This is absolutely brilliant at just calming everything down. And I also think that it's just completely transformed my hair in general. I mean, it's a domino effect because it's made my hair really much more manageable, which has then meant I've used less heat. But like the last time I went to get my hair done, Mark, who I mentioned, he was just like, what have you done? Your hair is completely different. He said the brush has never gone through it more easily. It's thicker. It's got a lot longer. And I really think it's all down to this. So I cannot recommend it enough. There are 2 Olaplex treatments that are Curly Girl approved. It's the 0 and the 3. But for anyone who's dipping a toe in, like I have been, and you just want to use less heat, that is the one thing I would tell you. And I will also say, when this first came and it's a tiny little pot, I was thinking, are you joking? I've spent all that money on that. But you need the tiniest bit of it. One of my best friends got this, and we're always just like, cannot believe how good it is. That is my number 1 pick for anybody. But anyway, I think that was the longest video I've ever made, but I really wanted to do this video justice because, as I say, I know this is something that is a very emotive topic. And if you're like me and you've always been like, oh, my hair is difficult to manage, difficult to maintain, and you want to try a few of these techniques, I wanted to go into a lot of detail. So I really hope it was helpful. Whatever you take away from it, I always think with everything in your life, take what you like, leave the rest. Pick out the bits that feel like they're nice for you. Try a couple of little techniques in your routine and see what happens. But let me know if you've got any thoughts on any of the products I mentioned, any brands that we should be looking at, any accounts to follow, anything at all. But I hope you enjoy. As I say, have a look at The Independent to read the whole piece, and I'll chat to you soon. Take care.